Hello, everyone. I'm Yazan Ibrahim, or as some of you might know me, Yazan Abu Ghosh. Today, we're going to dive into a fascinating and essential topic, Fraud Examiners Section 1, Financial Transactions and Fraud Schemes. Welcome to today's deep dive into the world of fraud, where we'll explore the payment fraud, check fraud, credit card fraud, prevention and detection of credit card fraud, electronic bill payment, and person-to-person payments, online and mobile account fraud, alternative currencies. Whether you're an aspiring fraud investigator, a business owner, or simply curious about how organizations manage their finances, or if you are an auditor, this journey will shed light on the often complex systems that drive decision making. In today's world, the way we pay has transformed dramatically. Picture this: from the crisp feel of a dollar bill to the digital ping of a cryptocurrency transaction, payments have evolved, spanning centuries of innovation. But while technology has propelled us forward, it has also opened doors to a shadowy underworld, one riddled with schemes, scams, and fraud. Let's unravel this intricate web together, starting with one of the oldest forms of payment still in use: checks. Despite the headlines proclaiming the death of the check, this paper relic of bygone financial systems refuses to fade away. Especially in the United States, checks still play a vital role in business-to-business transactions, forming a surprising cornerstone of financial dealings. But this continued relevance comes at a cost. And that cost? Fraud. In fact, a startling 70% of companies that reported payment fraud cited check fraud as an issue, according to the Association for Financial Professionals, AFP, in their 2019 Payments Fraud and Control Survey. Now, you may wonder, why haven't checks been replaced entirely by quicker, more secure options like wire transfers or mobile payments? The answer lies partly in tradition, but also in systemic inertia. Take Europe, for instance, where you'll find businesses utilizing international bank account numbers, IBANs, or GIROs, mechanisms that render checks nearly obsolete. Yet, in the US, where checks hold sway, keeping them safe is crucial. Let's peek behind the curtain of fraud prevention. Imagine a busy retail store, its cashiers bustling, unaware of the subtle red flags of fraudulent check displays. Perhaps the printing looks slightly uneven, or the ink mismatches. Even something as seemingly mundane as a low check number could be a clue, as fraudsters often tamper with new checks to bypass suspicious eyes. It's in these overlooked details that crimes thrive. Stepping deeper into this conundrum, fraudulent schemes come in many guises. Counterfeit checks, often produced with nothing more than a standard inkjet printer, are a prime example. Fraudsters employ advanced yet accessible tools such as magnetic ink character recognition, MICR, fonts, and counterfeit check templates to make their creations appear genuine. And once the forgery is complete, an army of accomplices, innocent-looking individuals tasked with cashing these checks, spreads out, distancing the true mastermind from the crime scene. But check fraud isn't limited to forging fake documents. There's check washing, a tactic that sounds as absurd as it is chilling. Fraudsters use chemicals to literally erase the contents of a check while keeping the issuer's signature intact. This blank slate allows criminals to rewrite payment amounts or even change the payer completely. The pens you write with could even make a difference. Colored inks and ballpoint pens are particularly vulnerable to these methods, while black ink from gel pens offers a far safer alternative. Then there's the seemingly sophisticated yet straightforward trick known as check kiting. Imagine this: money briefly appearing to exist in two places at once. It's all due to a phenomenon called float, the time it takes for a check to clear. In this fleeting window of opportunity, fraudsters bounce worthless checks between multiple accounts, creating phantom funds to exploit. Demand drafts, essentially checks without the need for a signature, pose yet another vulnerability. While legitimate uses exist for these drafts, they've also been weaponized by unscrupulous parties to withdraw funds without authorization. This abuse of trust is just one of many ways fraud infiltrates financial systems. At the institutional level, organized groups, sometimes even crime syndicates, run complex check fraud rings. These groups don't just pass fake checks, they steal blank check stock, infiltrate businesses, and exploit institutional weaknesses to orchestrate far-reaching swindles. It's a sobering reminder of how systemic vulnerabilities can ripple outward, impacting not just individuals or merchants, but the very foundations of modern commerce. So how do we combat these schemes? Education holds the key. Businesses can arm their employees with the knowledge to spot variations in ID, scrutinize checks, and identify patterns in fraud schemes. Law enforcement, too, must remain vigilant, partnering with financial institutions and regulators to disrupt fraud rings and develop robust preventative measures. Ultimately, protecting these systems demands adaptability. As we transition to ever-modern payment methods, fraudsters adapt just as swiftly. From checks to cryptocurrency, every payment innovation brings new challenges. But by staying informed and vigilant, we can navigate this sprawling battlefield of fraud, one step at a time. Picture this: a bustling shopping center filled with people swiping their credit cards for everything from groceries to high-end electronics. It's a convenient way of life, but behind the scenes, lurking in the shadows, a sophisticated network of fraudsters is working tirelessly to turn this convenience into a playground for deception. Today, we're diving deep into the world of credit card fraud, how it works, how to recognize it, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. The rise of prepaid credit card fraud. Let's start with a growing and highly elusive corner of this scheme: prepaid card fraud. Prepaid cards are everywhere. They're a go-to choice for people without a bank account or anyone seeking a little extra privacy in their transactions. But this anonymity, while convenient, makes prepaid cards a prime target for fraudsters. Imagine this scenario. A thief uses a stolen credit card to buy a prepaid debit card, effectively converting stolen funds into something that acts like cash, completely untraceable. It's a simple but highly effective method of laundering money. Retailers have started to catch on, which is why many now only permit cash or PIN-based debit cards for purchasing prepaid cards, adding an extra layer of verification. But fraud doesn't stop there. Victims are often manipulated into becoming unwilling participants in these schemes. Have you ever scrolled through social media and seen ads promising get-rich-quick opportunities? It's tempting, especially for those in financial distress, but it's a trap. Scammers instruct victims to purchase a prepaid debit card, scratch off the PIN, and send over the card details. In exchange, the scammers promise to load the card with more money, after collecting a small fee, of course. Once the fraudster gains access, the money disappears, leaving the victim empty-handed and the trail cold. Empowering the consumer. Simple steps for protection. If you feel a little uneasy right now, that's okay. That just means it's time to get proactive. Fraudsters thrive on lack of awareness and hesitation. So, what can you do to stay ahead of them? It starts with understanding and vigilance. Banks have a vested interest in protecting cardholders, but can only do so much. For example, cardholders in certain countries, like the United States, have limited liability, often up to just $50 for unauthorized charges. But keep in mind that correcting these issues can eat up time and resources, which is why prevention is better than cure. Here are some actionable steps that can save you a lot of trouble. 1. Always carry only the cards you need. A wallet stuffed with extra cards is just asking for trouble. 2. Never share your card information with unauthorized individuals. This includes over-the-phone solicitation, especially if the person claims to be from your bank. 3. Regularly review your statements for unfamiliar charges. Those surprise $3 transactions, they can be signs of fraud testing larger charges. 4. Keep a record of your credit card numbers and contact info for issuers in a safe place. This becomes crucial if you ever lose your card or suspect it has been stolen. Taking control of your credit also means being proactive about identity theft. Obtain your credit report annually to flag any suspicious activity, and if you spot anything fishy, contact the relevant authorities immediately. Fraudsters are opportunists, but they often shy away from targets who are diligent and alert. Spotting fraud in action, a merchant's guide. Now let's step behind the counter. Merchants are often the unsung defenders against fraud. Think of them as gatekeepers in this battle, standing between fraudsters and their misuse of stolen credit cards. But many merchants, busy with the day-to-day rush, unknowingly let their guard down. As a result, fraudsters become bolder. Fraudulent behavior often mirrors legitimate customer actions, but there are red flags to watch for. For example, have you ever noticed a shopper snapping up expensive items without asking any questions? Or a customer rushing through the checkout process just as the store is about to close? These scenarios frequently occur during fraudulent transactions. Other suspicious signs include requests for immediate delivery of big-ticket items or customers returning repeatedly for new purchases within the same day. The physical card itself can also provide clues. Legitimate cards are forged with finesse, but flaws often escape even skilled counterfeiters. Look for misspellings on the card, discolored signature panels, or crude attempts at holograms using foil. These imperfections might seem small, but they stand out when you take a closer look. A technological battleground, innovations to combat fraud. Technology plays a dual role in the fraud game. It's both weapon and shield. While fraudsters use tech to target victims, banks and merchants are no less equipped to fight back. For instance, you may have noticed the 3-digit verification code on the back of your card. This small feature is a simple yet highly effective way to confirm transactions. Advanced analytics also come into play. Ever had your bank decline a transaction because it seemed unusual? That's behavioral analysis at work. These systems compare your spending habits against flag patterns, spotting potential fraud before it happens. And what about card not present transactions like those you make online? These transactions carry their own risks since neither the merchant nor the cardholder physically exchanges the card. This makes additional verification tools and encrypted payment gateways crucial for online shopping. Winning the war against fraud. Let's wrap this up with a powerful reminder. Prevention beats resolution every time. From personal vigilance to cutting-edge technologies, every small action contributes to combating credit card fraud. Whether you're a cardholder meticulously reviewing your statements or a merchant training employees to spot suspicious behavior, the collective effort matters. Credit card fraud might be evolving, but so are the methods to fight it. As we continue to educate ourselves and innovate, we build stronger defenses against this invisible threat. The next time you swipe your card or click checkout, do so with confidence. Because now, you're not just participating in the economy, you're protecting it. Fraud is a multifaceted issue that continuously evolves, challenging financial institutions, businesses, and consumers alike. Delving into the mechanisms of electronic payment systems like electronic bill payment and presentment (EBPP) and peer-to-peer P2P platforms reveals the vulnerabilities that fraudsters exploit. But understanding these risks is the first step towards building robust defenses. Let's dive into the intricacies of fraud in these systems and how it can be mitigated. When you log into your bank account or make a payment, a chain of actions unfolds, passing your data through multiple parties, each handling sensitive details like account numbers, passwords, and personal information. While this system has made banking faster and more accessible, it has also opened doors for various fraudulent activities. Imagine you receive a bill, but it isn't for a service you've used. Or perhaps someone gains access to your bank account details and instructs your bank to pay that fraudulent bill. These are just some ways fraud infiltrates EBPP and P2P systems. Hackers and insiders alike play a significant role in exploiting these systems. A hacker might infiltrate an aggregator's database, stealing usernames and passwords to siphon money out of unsuspecting accounts. Even employees, those working at financial institutions or third-party payment providers, could misuse their access to carry out unauthorized transfers. These scenarios highlight the complexity of pinpointing a single source of the breach, making it difficult for financial institutions to assign responsibility. To maintain customer trust, banks often accept liability rather than risk damaging relationships. This brings us to an important question. If the risk is this high, what can banks do to mitigate it? At the heart of prevention lies proactivity. Banks are uniquely positioned to combat fraud due to their control over electronic fund transfers, EFTs, and their ability to monitor for suspicious behaviors. By implementing safeguards during the issuance and usage of access devices, such as payment cards or digital access codes, banks can significantly reduce threats. For instance, verifying information like an applicant's address or requesting utility bills during account setup can prevent fraudsters from gaining access to the system. Moreover, ensuring that PINs and usernames are issued separately and securely helps block unauthorized third-party access. But prevention isn't only about avoiding fraud at the entry point. It's also about staying vigilant throughout a customer's journey. Transaction monitoring plays a key role in detecting anomalies. Imagine receiving an email notifying you of an unexpected bill or payment made from your account. This kind of alert equips customers with the tools to respond quickly to unauthorized activities. Similarly, banks can scrutinize transactions flagged by typical fraud patterns, such as multiple similar payments or behaviors linked to past fraudulent activities. Though maintaining this monitoring requires advanced systems and resource investment. The digital landscape also introduces a unique challenge in the form of brandjacking, where fraudsters replicate a bank's domain or create fake websites mimicking legitimate institutions. These counterfeit sites lure unsuspecting individuals into revealing sensitive information like account details. It's like trying to tell the difference between a counterfeit bill and a real one, except it's not paper money, but websites that feel just credible enough to trick the average user. Protecting against cyber cloning or brandjacking requires vigilance from both banks and their customers. Simple steps like educating consumers about phishing attempts or ensuring bank communications use highly secure, authenticated systems can save millions in potential losses. Other companies, too, face risks from EFT fraud, and organizations like the Information Systems Audit and Control Association, ISACA, recommend a layered approach to manage it. Physical security measures, application security, and network monitoring prove invaluable in identifying fraud attempts early. Establishing a baseline from which normal activity can be tracked offers tools to spot deviations that may indicate interference. Conducting regular data reconciliations further ensures that changes in data are legitimate rather than malicious. The rise of online accounts also presents fertile ground for fraudsters. Picture an online shopping account filled with stored payment options like credit cards or even virtual currencies. While these features provide unparalleled convenience, they also make accounts prime targets for account takeover fraud. In account takeovers, fraudsters gain control of login credentials through phishing emails or brute force attacks. They then lock out the legitimate user by changing contact information, discreetly exploiting the account for financial gain. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, which combines methods like email verification and biometrics, forms a critical defense against such takeovers, providing clear barriers to fraudsters. And what about the growing world of mobile payments? Thanks to technologies like near-field communication, NFC, the lines between physical and digital transactions have blurred. Simply tapping your smartphone against a payment terminal triggers a cascade of data exchange, safeguarded by layers of encryption but still vulnerable to password reuse and hacking. Solutions such as biometric verification, for example, fingerprints or facial recognition, have made payments more secure than ever, but users should remain cautious. A compromise in login credentials for one device can lead to a domino effect of breaches across platforms. The fight against fraud isn't just an arms race between banks and criminals. It's a collaborative effort that includes businesses, government bodies, and individuals. As technology evolves, so do the methods fraudsters use to exploit it. By staying informed, adopting safe practices, and cooperating with financial institutions, we can keep fraud under control. This is a race that isn't easy to win, but it's one that demands our collective vigilance and effort. Thank you for watching, and as always, continue learning. Stay curious, and we'll see you next video.